You think your HOA is bad for finding you over grass length? Try waking up to diesel engines and bulldozers carving a trench straight through your grandpa's pasture while the president smirks like she just won the lottery. That's exactly how my war with Lori Baxter started, and how hers ended with handcuffs in front of the entire town. The morning air still carried that crisp Montana bite when the roar hit at 6:02 a.m. I yanked on boots and sprinted out to find 5 guys in hard hats trenching a 6-foot gash across my best grazing land, right where the spring bubbled up pure and cold, since before Montana was even a territory. There she stood in designer hiking boots that had never seen real dirt, clipboard in one hand, fake smile plastered on. Morning, Mason. Community necessity. Your little hobby farm can't hold back progress for 650 families who pay top dollar for reliable water. I stared at the papers she shoved at me, county seals, fancy letterhead, the works. This says adjacent properties. My deed says this is mine. Lori's laugh was pure ice. Read the fine print, cowboy. Right of way for public benefit. Sign or we'll see you in court. What Lori didn't know, what nobody in Pine Haven Estates knew, was that Grandpa's 1953 water rights filing made me senior appropriator to every drop feeding the aquifer under their $1-million roofs, their infinity pools, and their perfectly green lawns that never should have survived Montana summers without my spring. They'd built an empire on water they never owned. The complaints had been small at first. Letters about visual clutter from my hay bales. Citations for my truck parked at an unsightly angle. One memorable gem demanded I install air fresheners on the cattle because the smell ruined someone's sunrise yoga on their back deck. I laughed it off until Lori became president and turned the HOA rulebook into her personal holy war. But the pipeline? That was the declaration. By noon I had my old attorney on the phone and trail cams rolling. Lori's crew kept digging anyway. Construction continues pending dispute, the county clerk shrugged. Convenient. My daughter Ava, 16 and already smarter than half the lawyers in Missoula, spent that night deep in public records. Dad, she whispered over cold pizza, their subdivision covenants promise unlimited premium water to every buyer. But the contracts expire in 14 months, and they're already 40% over capacity. They're desperate. Desperate was right. 2 days later, Lori's independent environmental consultant showed up, clipboard, white coat, cologne thick enough to choke a horse. He spent 4 hours photographing every mud puddle like it was Chernobyl. His report landed like a grenade. Cattle runoff threatens subdivision health. County slapped me with a suspension order. No moving cattle, no spreading feed, nothing. Same week, Lori's husband Victor, owner of Baxter Builders, magically submitted a lowball offer to buy out the nuisance property. That's when the gloves came off. Ava started filming everything on TikTok. Raw footage of the bulldozers churning my spring into mud, Lori's smirking press conferences calling me an obstacle to civilized living. Views exploded. Comments poured in from ranchers across the West. This is how they do it, death by paperwork. Meanwhile, I was up at 2 a.m. digging through county archives with Ava's help. Found it. Grandpa's water filing predated their subdivision by 65 years. Prior appropriation, first in time, first in right. And Victor's company? Sitting on $3.8 million in unpaid liens and water bonds due in 18 months. They'd sold luxury homes on water they didn't control. Lori escalated like a cornered cat. Whisper campaigns at HOA meetings painted me as the neighborhood hazard. Local paper ran Rancher versus Progress, with photos angled to make my place look like a junkyard. Then came the sabotage. Trail cam caught 2 of Victor's crew dumping industrial cleaner into my stock tanks at 3 a.m. Sheriff showed up with warrants before breakfast. Texts on their phones. Make it look natural, need justification for seizure. The town hall was supposed to be about resolving community concerns. 400 people packed the high school gym. Lori took the mic first, voice trembling with righteous fury. This man is holding our families hostage with outdated ranch privileges. We demand eminent domain for the public good. The crowd murmured. Cameras rolled. I waited until the room was dead quiet, then stood up with a single folder. Public good. I held up Grandpa's 1953 filing. Under Montana water law, this spring is mine. Every drop you've been using for your pools, your lawns, your civilized living. I own it. And last week I bought every distressed water contract your husband was trying to dump on the banks for pennies on the dollar. As of yesterday morning, I control the water to every home in Pine Haven Estates. The silence broke like glass. Lori's face went white, then purple. This is extortion. He's a domestic terrorist. She lunged toward the stage. Sheriff's deputy stepped in, cuffs out. Ma'am, you're under arrest, conspiracy to commit environmental damage, trespass, fraud, and about 6 HOA violations you wrote yourself. The crowd gasped, then cheered as Lori was read her rights on live stream to 40,000 viewers. But I wasn't there to burn it all down. I'm not shutting anybody off, I said when the noise died. I'm proposing a community water cooperative. Every homeowner gets reliable, cheaper water through a member-owned system. No more corporate middlemen lying about supply. And I'll fund full restoration of the pasture they tore up. Phones lit up. People who'd hated me yesterday were shaking my hand today. 6 months later, the co-op is running smooth. Property values actually climbed because the water is now guaranteed by the guy who owns the source. And Lori? She's in Florida somewhere selling timeshares under her maiden name after the divorce and bankruptcy. Victor's doing 18 months in federal for the poisoning plot. Ava's TikTok channel now teaches property rights to 500,000 kids who'll never let another HOA pull this stunt. The spring still flows clear. Cattle graze where the trench used to be. And every time I see one of those perfect lawns in Pine Haven, I smile, because the people living there finally understand what real community standards look like when the bullies lose. True or false? The HOA president was simply protecting community standards and progress, or was she the one who abused power so badly that her own rules dragged her down in front of the entire town? Drop your vote in the comments, and tell me, what would you have done if they came for your water at dawn?